keeping in the spirit of recruiting, I want to shift our focus to the number one player in the class of 2023, LT Overton, the incredibly talented Sooners legacy, and I want to talk about him because we now know that he plans to take a trip to Oklahoma this summer, but this is going to be no cakewalk of a recruitment for anybody because he has one of the most unique recruitment processes I think we'll see on this channel, and we have got to get into it. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. And given that Oklahoma currently holds the crystal ball on 24/7 Sports, do you believe that the Oklahoma Sooners are going to be able to fend off the likes of Clemson, Alabama, A&M, and Ohio State for the talented legacy? And let me know what you're thinking there. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification because I do constant college football content and you don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy that content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions really are huge for content creators such as myself, getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, let's talk LT Overton. And look, this is someone who is going to be one of the most talked about, one of the most sought after prospects of some time. When we talk about 24/7 Sports and the way they gauge their prospects, it's typically on a scale of 0.000 to 1. And LT Overton happens to be one of those ones, and they are few and far between. This kid is a game-changing prospect, a game-busting prospect, and wherever he goes, he probably looks to start day one because he is a transcendent talent on the defensive front. Just look up his stats. They are otherworldly, and you'd actually think you were looking up a video game character instead of an actual player who's balling out. Now, Overton, as I said in the intro, is currently crystal balled to Oklahoma, and we now know that he plans to visit Norman this summer, and that really is a big deal for Oklahoma. Getting in a guy like Overton would be a absolute program changer for the Sooners. He is that big of a deal. And one of the things that is being pitched to Overton by Oklahoma is to come be a part of this new revolution of the Alex Grinch defense. The resurgence of the Oklahoma defense under Grinch is going to be a pitch that is used for a lot of top defensive players this year, but none more so important maybe than LT Overton. And there are a ton of talented prospects that we have talked about, but Overton is a really, really unique prospect, and it's not just about his ability. Winning his recruitment is going to be very, very difficult, and we're going to talk about exactly why here in a little bit, because even though he is a legacy to Oklahoma, I don't know if I've ever seen a recruit where a legacy status might not mean as much as others. And what I mean is, not only is he a legacy to OU, but his parents worked in Tuscaloosa. He became very, very familiar with the University of Alabama, and his family is very high on Alabama. They also worked at A&M. They worked within that area, and because of that, he's familiar and high on A&M. So even though A&M, Alabama, they have their familiarities, OU has the legacy status, and that's why I say, typically when we see a kid that's a legacy, it exponentially increases the chances of an institution of being able to land them. Now, it's not always 100%, but it makes it a better chance, right? You're much more likely. This is a situation where it is incredibly unique. We usually don't see a kid with this many ties to this many institutions. And because of that, it's going to be very, very interesting. Now, one very interesting tidbit that we do know about LT Overton as it pertains to OU is that Lincoln Riley is actually the one leading the charge on this process. He is taking it into his own hands. And look, I'm not going to lie. If we look at Alabama, if we look at Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, I imagine the head coaches of every single one of these institutions is going to have an incredibly hands-on role in this. And it's very interesting if we listen to what he said, because when he talked about Alabama, he loves Nick Saban. He called him one of the greatest coaches of all time. That right there is going to be something we have to watch out for, because this is a kid, like I said, with that generational talent, is going to be looking to be developed at the best rate for NFL. And when we talk about that, one of the things that he brought up back in March when he talked at a camp was that he loved the hires Alabama made on that staff. Alabama filled that staff with a bunch of former NFL guys, and guys like LT Overton noticed and then talked about it. He's going to be a big pitch for that 2023 class, because if you haven't looked, the 2023 class for the University of Alabama could be absolutely loaded, because the state of Alabama is absolutely loaded. I mean, that class could be very special. He's going to be a pitch for it. But that's not going to be relegated to just Alabama. A&M is going to be trying with everything they have to get him because he's familiar with A&M. His family's familiar with A&M. They're high on A&M. And one of the interesting things is Clemson is also in this. When we're talking about a prospect as talented as LT Overton, you have all of your normal players here. OU is in a really interesting position, as is Alabama and A&M. And if I had to guess, we're looking at a situation that's probably between Georgia, Alabama, A&M, and OU. Right now, the reason why I put Georgia in there is because he currently lives in Georgia. So that's why at the beginning, I'm very vindicated in saying this is going to be one of the most unique processes we have seen as it pertains to a recruit, because even though he's a legacy of OU, and usually that means a ton if you're a legacy somewhere, it might not mean as much as it pertains to Overton because he has just a deep relationship with OU, with A&M, with Alabama, and lives in the state of Georgia. This is going to be one of the most interesting recruiting processes in the nation, and it's not an understatement to say so. We are going to be watching this, but this is a very big deal that the Oklahoma Sooners are able to get in a visit this summer from Overton because he could be a program changer, and it's very unique to me that Lincoln Riley's leading the charge. They're pitching Calvin Thibodeau, they're pitching Alex Grinch. Those guys are absolutely going to be involved, but Lincoln Riley recognizes the severity of this matter and recognizes the talent of this young man and what he could mean for this Oklahoma program, as does every other coach. This is going to be an awesome battle to watch. Let me know what you're thinking on this because this is going to be super, super awesome to watch. That's it. See ya.